I gained the trust and made meaningful relationships or genuine relationships with my clients. And one of the things I talk about from the stage is going above and beyond, going that extra mile, or giving that 3 to 5% more. And most people are only going to do the mid-level. And so if you go just a little bit above and beyond, that 3 to 5% more, it is going to make you stand out. It is going to make you shine, and it's going to make you memorable, valuable, and referable.
Checking in every once in a while is always a good lesson. It doesn't matter if it's even like coworkers, colleagues, or relationships, vendors. I check in with my clients annually to make sure that we're in lockstep when it comes to my clients, right?
Woo! Alrighty then. Hello and welcome to the episode of Amber Energy, the podcast. Today I have my awesome friend, Blue Stiley. He is a professional keynote speaker, host, podcaster, and author. I've had the pleasure of getting to know him for roughly 15 years, and he's a wonderful friend, colleague, and I can't be more excited to have him on my podcast. Thank you so much for being here today, Blue. Why don't you talk a little bit about yourself, what you do, how we know each other, and let's get started.
Thank you for having me. It's awesome to be on the opposite side of the podcast. So it's kind of needed versus the host. And it is true. I've known you for many years. And when you asked me to be on this, I was like, absolutely, I would love to. So my name is Blue, like the color. My parents were hippies, and I got beat up and picked on when I was a kid all the time. And I got into martial arts, and I had no idea that my martial arts instructor was going to change the trajectory of my life, but that's exactly what he did. And all of these life lessons and habits that I learned from him, I started diarying when he passed away, and I wrote a book. It went viral, and then I became a motivational keynote speaker. I've been a personal trainer and strength coach for Olympic athletes. I did close quarter combat tactics for different military and police units and SWAT groups. I wrote a book called The Sum of Four, where we all get to four differently. That is it. And I don't know. I just have so much fun in my life, and I'm a dad, and I'm a husband, and I love my two kids, and they just started school, and I'm super excited to be able to share my message, because I think a lot of people would love to hear some of the things that I have learned over my 30 plus years as a author and a keynote speaker and as a personal trainer and a podcast host myself.
I know, it's super fun. I am super stoked to have you on, and when I reflect on our relationship, I'm just couldn't be more happy to still have you in my life.
Well, yeah. That is absolutely two ways. So thank you.
So I just remember us, meeting at the LA Fitness in North Seattle, and obviously, as you're electrifying and you're interesting. You're but you're a personal trainer and you were working out or whatever. It was this guy seems like he's got it going on. I got to know this person, right? And so I don't know how we met per se, but like how I met many of the people at that gym. It was more like you become a regular, and you see each other on the regular, and you see each other, hey, what's up? You do the head nod or what's up, and you just kind of recognize them. And then over time, it's oh, she's serious. You're serious. You see them every day, and before you know it, oh, what's your name? I see you in here a lot, and then before you know it, you're shooting the shit and talking between sets or between clients in your case. And
Well, what's interesting is LA Fitness was not my home gym though, because I had my own
working
gym.
out there. You were just you were working out there, and then you had clients at your digs.
Mm-hmm. And so I used it as basically my home away from home, right? And obviously, when you go into the gym back in the day as a Globo versus a CrossFitter, you would see people, and you could tell if somebody knew how to lift, and you could learn from each other because it's a conglomerate. It's like a petri dish of people showing you different lifts and exercises, because you can learn from everybody, whether they're skinny or huge or whatever. And it's I just had so much fun in the gym environment. And I feel bad for people with COVID now, because the gym's kind of dissipated for a while. But man, I had so much fun growing up. Those were some of my greatest years.
No, mine too. I remember actually, I don't know if you remember, but I was a personal trainer in college at Western. Mm-hmm. And I was a coxswain for the men's rowing crew team for 2 years, and then I led to water skiing on the club team, and then that got me up personal training. And actually, I was personal training in downtown Seattle at Gold's for throughout 2009 and 10 maybe. And I was downtown Gold's personal training, and I just quickly gave that up when I wanted to full board go into graphic design as my main career as an agency designer downtown. Gave that up cold turkey, and then completely focused on me being a figure competitor in 2010, and then also being then obviously focusing as a graphic designer in the small town, big town of the Seattle, that is the Big Apple of the West Coast or something.
Sure.
Yeah, so I focused on graphic design and gave up the personal training bits to focus on working out myself and being a figure competitor. So that's probably why I was like, oh, there's not a personal trainer here, because I used to be a personal trainer. Or he seems really fit. I'm fit. Oh, I want to get to know this person. The regulars at the gym, in addition to the other crew of men that I quickly got to meet, and one of them is now my husband.
That's right. Well, Gold's Gym downtown was actually where I started. So I got hired with Gold's, and then I started there, and I was only there for a week, and I was like, this is not where I want to have to commute to. And so North Spokane Gold's became my home. And ironically, I did not think that I was going to be a personal trainer. I wanted to do international corporate law. And so I was studying for the LSAT and the GMAT. And a friend of mine at the time was like, and she worked at the Gold's, she was like, you should teach martial arts to all the Gold's gyms. And I figured, sure, why not? But in order to do so, I had to become certified as a personal trainer. And when I did that, I beat all records, both nationally and internationally, for Gold's Gym on sales. And it was not because I was a good personal trainer. I was a stick with lips still at that time. And it was because of the way that I gained the trust and made meaningful relationships, or genuine relationships, with my clients. And then I brought them into a community before CrossFit became a big community center. And I just made people feel heard, seen, like they belong, like Brene Brown talks about. And it was just like a great home. And I flourished at that spot. And then I started at North Seattle, and that was it.
Maybe that's where, because I worked there for like a hot second too, and I didn't really necessarily like the fishbowl feel of the downtown Seattle one. And I was like, I don't know about this. I felt like I was at the fishbowl all the time. But anyway, that didn't last very long. I didn't feel like selling the Dot Fitness brand, their supplement brand that they were kind of having personal trainers push. I didn't like that very much. Didn't feel very authentic. So anyways, all I have to say, that's when we met. And yes, so we met. And what's kind of fun, I feel like, about our relationship is that we kind of like met. We went off and kind of like, you were doing your bits as like, modeling, and I went off doing my bits as doing figure competitions. And, we kind of like done these funny things throughout our entire like 15 years of knowing each other. I remember, I couldn't be more, I remember all of a sudden on Facebook, I'm married, and like, you're doing this thing, we went and eloped, and like, then like, oh my God, he's having kids. And like, we kind of have done a funny thing, and got into our professional careers, very successful into your career. And I always admired watching, and I always love watching when friends, colleagues like make it and are doing it. That's like my favorite thing about colleagues and friends, like watching them like succeed. I'm like, oh my God, they're doing it. You just get so excited.
But that's because you have a meaningful relationship with your friends, right? And it's like you're happy for people when they succeed. You don't want to hang out. You don't want to hang out with people who aren't happy when you don't succeed, or when you do succeed. It's like that Schadenfreude. It's not healthy. So I want to surround myself around people that bring me up, and who understand that as a community, when we all raise, then we all prosper from that. I don't want to hang out with people that bring me down. And if my network is not bringing me up, and I'm not helping my network come up, then it's time to basically rethink my network.
Yeah. It's like your success is my success a little bit, right? Like,
Absolutely.
I love it more. Like, I love it so much when I see friends and family or colleagues like, they nailed it. Like, oh yeah, like they did it. Go them. Like, I'm like so stinking excited for them. Like, I was so stinking excited for you when obviously I see you. I think I remember one time I took a picture of you, and you were like up in like, I don't forget what retail store, but like there was a picture of you. Remember that picture I took of you? You're like, look, there's Blue up there. And I sent you a text to you. I was like, my friend, that's my friend. And I remember like texting you a picture of it, right? And then, throughout our friendship, I'm like, I was so excited for you when you got married again. And I was so excited for you, when I'm like, oh my gosh, like he wrote a book, my friend. Oh my God, my friend wrote a book. I gotta buy his book. And then, then he's doing speaking engagements. I'm like, oh my God, he had a speaking engagement, like over 1,000 people. Go Blue. And then I was like, oh my gosh, and now I'm gonna start a podcast too? Heck yeah, way to be, buddy. So I just love seeing my friends like all be successful. And I like to surround myself too with like amazing people. But I just love it also when I see amazing friends like, oh yes, they're doing it. We're all doing it. This is so cool.
Well, I think that taps into the fact that you're a magnetic person too, right? And it's everybody wants to be the person in the room that everybody wants to know, right? And how do you become that person? How do you become that magnet? And some magnets attach other magnets and then they never leave or anything like that. But it's like my goal is always as the magnet to bring people in to become their own magnet. And you're that energetic person. I mean, listen to your amber energy, right? I mean, you're this spitball of energy, and you're like a Duracell or Energizer bunny. And it's like, I love being around people that are so positive and optimistic because that really bleeds into me and it's contagious. And I love smiling at people versus like being all mad. And I think our world needs a little bit more of happiness and kindness right now.
A little bit of joy would go a long ways.
Yeah, well, it really does. And it's like, why? I don't want to be around Eeyores and I don't want to be around people that are mean. I was like, no, I just want to be a happy camper, right?
Right. Like their life's too short, man. We know, ain't nobody got time for that, to be
No.
Ain't nobody got time for that. Oh my gosh. Oh, so yes, I love that about our relationship. I love where we're at. Now we're both parents, right? It was fun, getting that all of us, all 8 of us, and all of your friends and some family got to come together for a Memorial Weekend camping trip a couple of years ago. I was disappointed we couldn't make it happen again, but like I really, really enjoyed that like authentic time with you and your family, and I really enjoyed shooting a bow with your wife, and I really enjoyed, our children playing together and like shooting together, and I thought that was like the most like this is so cool, this is the best, like this is like we're friends and like we're in that like inner trust tree, and like I always just like I love this is amazing, this is beautiful, this is just how life is supposed to be.
Well, I would say that like,
and I was honored actually that you invited me, to be honest. I was like,
well, you're invited every year, and so are all your guests. I was going to say that it's like I'm from Spokane and I moved to Seattle and I was there for 30 years. And then my wife basically twisted my arm and said, would you ever move back to Spokane? And we ended up building a home in Liberty Lake. And I am so happy here. And one of the things that I didn't realize was that the power of your lifetime friends, right? Like I moved back, and a lot of people don't move from Spokane, and all of my childhood best friends are still here. And I didn't realize the power of that network and coming back to people that I've spent so much time with, like I got my license with, I went through junior high with, I started a business with, like all of these people. And those are those true friends. And it reminded me how much I miss that and how important those kinds of relationships are. And it's like the friends that you interweave like this with like a thread, as long as you do your part and you keep bringing back, it's like, you can always have that with your friends. And it's like, but it takes work. It does take work.
It's beautiful reciprocation, right? And obviously people go through tough times in their lives and they need a little bit more love and help and support, depending on the chapter that maybe they're in, the season that they're in. But as long as it's like eventually it's a reverse, all is fair in love and war, and eventually it kind of reciprocates on itself, and they're there for you when you need it most. And as long as there's that kind of like nice volley of sorts in a friendship, it can be a very beautiful thing. Like I have 2 lifelong friends, and I went back last year for my 20th high school reunion and like reconnected with like some friends from like kindergarten and like primary school, and it brought me so much joy to like see them be so successful and to rekindle those friendships again. And it's joyous. It's so much fun to like pick up almost like where you left off. And even though you've done this for like 20 years, or maybe you've done this a couple times in 20 years, it is so much fun to like reconnect with those people.
Yeah. Well, and
those stories and those moments, you say about going to like, get your driver's ed, or remember when we did this on this corner, or remember when we got that scuffle over here? It's just like, those childhood joys of like reliving those moments, reminiscing, and nostalgic.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think that's the part where, as a motivational speaker now from the stage, I really use pop culture and humor to bring the audience in, because it's so relatable and it's so everybody can achieve that and understand that and relate to it, and it's so powerful. But that's the same thing with great friends, like lifetime friends or friends that you really get to know, right? Like, and I don't mean like the basic layer of an onion, but the more layers that you start to get down, you really understand what makes people tick and motivates them. And when you have that, the ability to have a great relationship, just it takes off even that much more. But I wanted to mention, because you had mentioned this, is that the 50-50 rule. Like as a parent and as a wife, being married is hard. And I'm going to tell your audience now, like it is no joke, right? And people are like, oh, it's a 50-50. It's not. Sometimes it's 50-50. Sometimes it's 80-20, where I'm doing 80% of the work and my wife does 20%. But as long as it always evens out, but it can never always be 100% of one person, because you're going to fizzle, and it can never be always 80-20, right? It needs to be back and forth. But that's what I love about my wife Heidi, is that it's like sometimes she's at 90 and I'm at 10 and vice versa, and it's like we make it work together. And that's the greatest thing about being parents. Yeah, it's an ultimate teamwork.
That's how my husband and I work too. Like some days, you come home from work, or some days you just had a bad day, or you get a bad phone call from a family member, or something happens like, oh man, today, honey, I'm a 10 and I need you to pick up dinner tonight. Or like, I need you to pick up the 90, kind of idea. I needed to decompress, or I need to have a moment. I got to get the phone call and it's not going to be fun. And like, I need a second here, or vice versa. Like, oh, something happened, at work. Nolan's got, XYZ that just happened, and he's got to like work late, or he's got to go jump on a business trip, and he's got to go to Portland, or he's got to go to Seattle, or he's got to go to Fresno, like drop everything. I'm like, okay, honey, it's work. You got to go. Love you long time. I'll see you in 3 days. Right. And okay, here we go. And that's just life. And, and you can't hold it against them or anything like that. No ill will. It's just, okay, honey, like we're supporting each other. We're supporting this family. We're supporting this life, this lifestyle. And today I got you. I got us. I got our family.
You figure it out.
We figure it out together, right? And then vice versa. Like I might have had something going on. You know what, honey? I love you. I got you today. I got this. I will cook dinner tonight, or whatever it is. It's a partnership. It's a teamwork, and it's a beautiful thing if you communicate and communicate what you need and where you're at. Like where's your energy level today? Like, oh, today, honey, shoot, I'm at a 40. Will you pick up the other 60, or vice versa, right? And that's just the beautiful thing about a partnership and about a relationship. But it ain't always sunshines and rainbows.
No, and once resentment starts to seep in, then you need to communicate that, right? And it's like the ability to communicate it so that both parties understand is so, and it's priceless. It really is. And I think that's
one thing a lot of, I'm not going to get into like couples therapy or anything, but just as far as like, one good tip someone told me in life was, never stop wooing your partner. Never stop dating your partner. Never stop wooing. And I think it's a beautiful thing to say, because, it's easy to obviously fall in love, the first 5-10 years. Like that's easy, right? Mm-hmm. But it's the next 10, it's the next 15, it's the next, that's the 20th year, the 50th year, right? Those are the harder years, because you're done with the wooing part technically. You're the lust and the falling in love part. That's the fun part.
The honeymoon.
The honeymoon phase, right? Mm-hmm. But what's going to keep you together, right, is getting through tough times, working it out, and then going on those fun dates, remembering to date your partner again. Like go out and have fun together, be kids, go to the batting cages, go dancing, go do something fun together, and stop, never stop dating your partner, never stop wooing your partner. Never stop asking how I can be better, right, for your partner.
Well, and we all need to grow. We all need to continue to grow.
So that's with friendships too. Are we good here? Are we good? Are we good here? Or like, did I step out of line? Or like, it's just navigating those difficult conversations, right? With friendships, long-term friendships, or long-term partnerships, relationships, spouses, it doesn't matter the long-term. It's just, are we good here? Like, did I overstep? Or, just checking in every once in a while is always a good lesson in life to check in. Doesn't matter if it's even like coworkers, colleagues, relationships, vendors. I check in with my clients annually to make sure that we're in lockstep when it comes to my clients, right? So similarly, you do that with your spouse, you and Heidi.
Well, I was going to say that one of the things that hits me hardest all the time is if I've offended someone that I didn't know that I did. And you'll never know unless someone communicates that, right? And it blows my mind when I hear something that somebody says, you said this, or you did this, or you didn't include me in this. I'm like, oh my gosh, like that makes me feel horrible, right? Like, let me remedy that.
Oh, I didn't mean to.
That person could hold that for 10 years and never tell me. And I think life is fine. And then finally they open up. I'm like, why did you hold that? I did not intend. Oh, and it's heartbreaking because that's not what I intend to do. And
right.
that's one of what's my Achilles heel with people, because I'm so empathetic, and it's like, man, that just sucks. So I would always advise, communicate with me. Let me know if I've said something. Let me know if if I did something or if I didn't include you because let me explain myself, number one, but I probably didn't even know I did it.
Right, you're right. Like empathetic people, our intention is not ill typically. We want to include. We want people to be a part of the party, right? And we enjoy it when people are part of the party. And our intention is not to hurt people's feelings. And we would rather more the merrier, right? So it's hard when we find out, like, oh my God, if you should have told me, I would have like taken care of it. Like, oh my God, like for realsies, like I got you.
It breaks my heart if I'm like, oh, that is, oh my gosh, why did I had a friend that did that for 10 years, and then she was like, it was in an email and you said this. I was like, oh my God, that was an email. And it was like, I was joking with the acronym, but the joke didn't come across. Right. And it's like, I had no idea until she exactly, it didn't land. And I mean, even it's interesting. I can say the same speech from the stage, whether I'm in like, whether it's to 1,000 people or 500 people, depending on the state, the city, whatever, and it might not land, right? And it's like, you don't know, you don't have that control. And so what is the communication? How does that person receive it? And that's what's important. And unless I see some kind of nonverbal thing or they tell me, I'm going to assume it landed like it did yesterday when I gave the same speech.
Right, exactly. Knowing how to read the room is just as a powerful and important skill as anything else, right? So you land a joke and they reacted and responded and like, ooh, kind, like not so kind, and you're like, oh shit, like that did not land. Like so, so you can read a room. So like reading a room is just as important. When you walk into a boardroom and you walk into a hall or a speakership or a boardroom, doesn't matter the scenario. You joke at a networking event, and it's like, it rubbed them wrong, or it didn't land right. Like, oh, that was crickets, or okay, I need to remedy that in a moment and like pick up and like, bounce the conversation back and like figure this out, because in the moment, being able to like read the situation and then on the fly, pivot is like just as important as like a good well-humored joke, right? Humor disarms almost everybody, right? Humor is like amazing. Great way to like break the ice, great way to like switch the subject, right? Use humor. It's so powerful. But then like reading the room is just as important.
Well, I would say that when you don't land something or if something goes wrong, because it happens all the time, right? And that's why I don't use slides. Like I don't use technology because it could always go wrong. But if you do and something doesn't work, you have to be able to pivot. You have to be able to improv right off the bat. That's where some of the greatest things that I've learned is through watching comedians, like improv comedians, and being able to not only read the stage, but at the same time, it's like being able to like transition very quickly. But you mentioned humor, and it's like being able to make fun of myself also is authentic, and it really lightens the load, because if I mess up, everybody's gonna be like, oh, they all want this. I love when people say, what are you scared to speak in public? And really, I would say that once you speak enough and once you understand the material, there's really nothing to be scared of, right? But it's when you don't know the material that it can be scary. But when you mess up, they're all rooting for you. Everyone in the room is rooting for you to succeed.
Well, it's all how you handle the situation.
Yeah, and like, so it doesn't matter if you can roll with it and you can make fun of yourself, and if something goes wrong and you make fun of it, then everybody's like, oh, because they've been there. Everybody can relate to that failure or that loss or that rejection. Yes, absolutely.
I remember doing that Hollywood figure competitions, right? There's like they wear those 5-inch heels on stage. And so
I've never done that.
Really? Are you sure?
No, I've never worn the heels.
Anyhow, no. So I was petrified of like these 5-inch heels. Like I grew up with a little tomboy, and so I was like, oh, I could do a figure contest. But then they were like, oh, but you have to wear this like skimpy, sparkly bikini and like these 5-inch heels. And I was like, I don't know how to wear those. And I was like petrified, because then I watched a couple of YouTubes about these women like falling, on stage or clomping around like a Clydesdale. I was absolutely petrified and mortified that I was gonna look like a Clydesdale, or that I was gonna like stumble and like look like it's a complete botch job on stage. So I remember practicing like crazy in like my kitchen when I was cooking, and like making sure that I was not gonna look like an idiot on stage. But like all that to say is that if it does happen, what they teach you in acting, like, or and theater, you just roll with it. Oh, yeah, I meant to do that.
Yeah.
And, you just keep walking, right? And it was a part of the play, or it was a part of the moment. And you just got to play it off, because like to do the latter doesn't work out either, because then that just don't work. So whatever you do, if you do a funny thing on stage, like, oh, I meant to do that. It's fine. Just keep rolling and just keep dancing it out, because it's just better that way. So I'm sure you've done it 1,000 times at some of your speaking engagements, like, oh, and then, you catch yourself and you roll into a fun handstand or something. I'm sure you like roll into a cartwheel and you're like, I'm Blue and I'm awesome.
Well, it's interesting. Like, that's one of my signatures, is to do handstand walks across stage. And it really blows like CEOs and C-level groups off. Like, what is this guy doing? Right. But you can mess up. And you can trip. I've done it before, and the stage was made of like wood, and I got splinters on my hands, and I was just like, oh my gosh. So I would advise, always work the stage and try to find out like what it looks like, the lay of the land beforehand. But no, it's like when you mess up, the only person who knows that you mess up is yourself, really. Yeah. And so I would say that confidently speaking is such a great skill, public speaking. And I think it is one of the greatest fears for people, but it is something that will take you so much further and it doesn't matter what industry you're in. Being able to speak in public, whether that's into a short team group or like a 15,000 or 87,000 people, it doesn't matter, right? It's like the skill and the confidence to be had with that is imperative. And so I would suggest anybody doing that, like, at least take an improv class, at least learn how to have that confidence to move up there. And if you know the material, for example, if I was to talk about, if you and I were to talk about our kids, we could talk about them for 48 hours, right? Like, we'd tell anything.
So yeah,
it is easy, right? It's when it's material you don't understand or that you don't believe in, that's when it's hard. And that's really the only time that's scary. But I could get up and improv on my kids all day long. And so could you. And so could anyone, whether it's about their mom and their dad, right? Well, but it's something that is true to your heart. And so when you speak from the stage, speaking from your heart and talking about what you know, knowing that they're all rooting for you, should give you the confidence to be like, you know what, if I mess up, they don't know. If I miss a part in my speech, they don't know. They all want me to succeed. The only person who's going to know that I messed up is me, and how I roll with it or improv or pivot is just as important.
Well, it's a good segue into like setbacks, how you come back from a setback, right? Like, that's a really important topic when it comes to being an entrepreneur, comes to being any kind of successful person in life, right? How you step over it in stride. How you come back from a setback is just as important as succeeding, right? Because you're gonna do this all your career, right?
Yeah.
And hopefully you're eventually gonna go upward, but upward in ways you never realized you were gonna go up. Like, maybe you had a goal of X, and like X you thought was gonna be the thing, but then you end up at Z, and you didn't realize you're gonna go to Z, because you didn't realize that there was something maybe better for you. And it's how you come back from those setbacks, right? It's how you come back from those learning lessons, right?
Well, and that's the whole idea of the podcast, Navigating No, is that it's how to overcome rejection, failure, and self-doubt. And we've all experienced that. And I've been told no way more times than I've ever heard yes. And life can be like this, but that's pretty boring if it's like this, because mediocrity should never be celebrated. It shouldn't. You should always be moving up and improving yourself or growing. Yeah. And if you're not growing, it's because you're not trying hard enough. You're not failing. Yeah, you're not failing hard enough. And I don't know a single person who's been successful, and success means different things to different people. But high achievers didn't get to where they are because they won every single game. It wasn't because there can only be one gold medalist, right? Somebody has to get silver, somebody has to get bronze, and somebody has to be a runner up. Some people aren't even team alternates, right? So it's like, you can't win everything all the time. And so how do you use that failure? How do you use that struggle, that setback, or that challenge to catapult yourself? And I interviewed this lady, Anna Mazzeo, from Italy, and she's from Argentina, but she's the managing director of Wobi in Italy. And she mentioned, like, setbacks are just the ability to be on a trampoline to jump higher. And I loved that analogy because it was so relatable. And it, like,
the double bounce.
It was. And it's like everything that she has ever been told no, she just uses that as her power source to like jump even higher.
I love
And
that.
I've always been able to do that. I always took the word no and I reversed the letters onto on, as in it's time to move on. It's time to prove this person wrong and try to prove to myself that I can do it. And a challenge or a setback to me isn't the end. It's just, okay, well, how am I going to get around this? How am I going to solve this? And you had mentioned that with your husband, like, oh, I'm at a 10 today. What am I going to do? Well, you solve it. It's the people that give up or quit that don't ever achieve anything, or they don't succeed at the levels or reach those aspirations that they really wanted to do. And it's the people that look at it differently. What's your mind perspective? What do you talk to yourself? What's your self-talk? What is your mantra? What is your confidence team around you? What gets you motivated to do it? And for me personally, it was always a personal mantra. I would just turn it from no to on. For a lot of people, it's also having a support system. Who is your confidence team around you? Like when I was writing my book, I thought I had a great book, and I turned it into the editor. It came back and it looked like a candy cane, had more red all over it than black and white. And I was like, what? And what hurt the most is the guy was like, well, you kind of write like a college student. I'm like, yeah, because the last thing I wrote was the history of Japan. It was 12 pages in college, right? I didn't go to school to be a writer, and it hurt. I mean, and I wanted to quit, but my buddy told me, he was like, do you want to be a writer or want to be a writer? And I was like, well, I want to be a writer. He goes, then take what that person said and fix it. Because if he didn't understand it, your audience won't. But it hurt. It really hurt because I knew it was going to take more time. It was going to take more energy. And so I did, and I turned it in again. It came back a little less red and a little less red, and then finally took off. But I used that to make a better book. Because it wasn't good, right? And so it didn't have the value that it should have. And I'm doing that for my next book, Navigating No. It's like I'm using my podcast as content creation of like how people can overcome rejection, failure, and self-doubt. And the more I'm learning and the more setbacks that I have and I hear about other people's stories, just makes the content of that book even more valuable to the person who wants to learn how to overcome it.
Yeah, right. Navigating no, how to be better, right? And that's the theme that everybody should want to aspire to be. Like, how can I be better? How can I always like improve this relationship and improve, whether it be a relationship with a colleague, a client, a spouse, a friend? How can I be better a parent? How can I be a better, it's always, I think it's a good thing, lesson in life. How can I be better? And know how to take the feedback, right? So there's this other book that I've recently read. It's called Feedback. It's not in this bookcase right here, but it's called How to Receive Feedback. And its follow-up book is also Difficult Conversations. And both those books I have read in tandem, and they are so valuable when it has come to life and business, whether it be personal or professional relationships and conversations.
Well, I would stop you and I would pause you, and I would say that I disagree that everybody wants to be better, because they don't. I don't believe that everybody wants to be better. I think that it takes a lot of push and effort to get people to become better, because mediocrity is medium, like it's enough and content. And I think that it's the people who are driven that want to be that, right? And so how do we get everybody to become more driven? And how do we get people to look at themselves and say, I want to be better. I want to get stronger. I want to be smarter. I want to learn more. And I want to give back to other people, because we all have stories and knowledge and experience that you can share, because it's our gifts. It's our differences that make us so special. And everyone listening to this right now has some kind of special gift. It's what makes us stand out. And if you utilize that to share with other people, you're just making the world a better place. So you can make the world a better place, and you can make yourself a better place. But getting them to do that, I can only lead people to the water, right? They have to want to drink. They have to want to drink. And that's hard. But as a motivational speaker, that's my goal, is to want to make people be better.
Right. Not everybody wants that. You're right. Not everybody wants help, right? Not everybody wants to make their life, improve their lives. Some people are having a moment in their life and they're okay right now with survival. They're okay with mediocrity, is the term that you use. Good enough, right? This is good enough life. And to inspire them to want to change and alter their trajectory in a positive way, sometimes really needs a nice slip kick in the butt, right? And that's obviously why persons bring you in.
Well, and that's your love language. Like, what is it going to take to get that person to become inspired to do so? But I would also say that there are a lot of people that want to be better, but there are also people who are so going down this pathway of resentment and victimize. Like they feel like they can't dig out of the hole.
You're right.
And those people might not even believe that they can be better. And it's my job, it's our job as a community to remind people how simple it is to give a little bit extra, to grow and to learn and to be better.
Right. And that sort of like that mentorship mentality, that giving back, right? So, you make it so far, and then like I think people forget that, you have to, like you say, thank people for getting you where you've gotten, because you did not get there by yourself. Right. So remembering that you got there because of amazing other awesome people. So knowing where you came from, knowing how you got somewhere, but then that full circle moment where you begin to mentor and give back, and how that giving is just as fulfilling, and maybe even more fulfilling, actually, the giving back, the time, your love, your energy. That's what fills a lot of people up, is giving back to the community, giving back to persons that you see the little spark in them. You're like, oh, yes.
Well,
yes. You give back.
I would say that tithing doesn't have to be money, right?
No,
it can be giving back. And it's like giving your time and your experience away to others is just as beneficial. And it is one of the greatest rewards. Being a parent and sacrificing and seeing my kids grow, that's one of the greatest rewards, right? Seeing my son ride his bike, seeing my daughter get a great grade, right? Like all of these are, I call them parental dividends, when they act a certain way, and it's just like, man, that's an awesome thing, a parental dividend. And
like
it term. If you think parental dividends are like when they act a certain way, and you hope that they would, but you see them out of the corner of your eye. Like my daughter, she went into the UPS store with my wife, and she just saw this lady coming in with all these boxes. She ran and she grabbed the door and opened it and said, "Can I take one of those boxes for her?" We didn't tell her to do that. She did it on her own accord. And that's a parental dividend. When you see all these things that you're putting into your child, it comes to fruition. And it's like, that's the greatest reward.
It's a reflection of you and how you are with other people. And so obviously your children are watching you. And that's obviously a clear dividend, a clear counter reaction of how obviously you and Heidi are in life, and your children are picking up the way you are in life and mimicking that. And it's a beautiful thing.
Well, it's a positive influence on someone, right? That you can change. Your actions can change someone else. And that is that parental dividend. But if you think back to what we were talking about, the mentorship, have your audience think about this. Like, how many people helped them get to where they are? And no one did it alone. No one did it alone. You have this huge group of support system that you learn from, and that you got these experiences that supported you or pushed you or believed in you. And that is just something that I learned as a very young kid, because I was lucky enough to be put into a karate dojo where I was surrounded by people who were better than me. And they all were better than me, but I wanted to learn from them, and they were all willing to teach me. And it was like at 8 years old, I understood the power of a mentor. And in Japanese culture, it's the mentor-mentee relationship, which is a senpai-kohai relationship. And I didn't realize at the time, but I was blessed to be in a community of people that just like lifted me up. If I wanted to learn how to do the splits, I would ask this person. If I wanted to learn how to start a business, I would ask this person. If I wanted to learn to travel and learn languages, I would ask this person. And it was just like, it was this, beautiful. I'm going to call it a petri dish of people that would help me. But that's what all of our communities can be. And the moment that you realize that if you're willing to ask for help, most people will help you. And what better benefit than to find somebody that has done what you want to do, has what you want, or has done or gotten what you want, right? And that is so powerful to be able to ask them, because two things can happen. A, they can tell you, actually, this is the worst job ever, and save your time and energy, and this is not the right fit for you, and it will save you so much. You're learning from the pitfalls and the mistakes of that person. Or number two, they will take you on their wing. And it's really great when they are willing to walk through the fire again with you, because there's no greater shortcut in life time management or anything than to find somebody who has done what you want to do or has what you want and ask them how they got it. And they're probably going to be willing to help you along the way. And that is the greatest secret sauce that I would have, is the power of mentorship. And I've just been very lucky to surround myself around people that I've wanted to emulate, that I've respected, that I've loved, admired, and trusted, and I have empathy with. And when you have that combination and it's reciprocated back at you, that's the secret sauce.
Magic. No, I love that. How you had so much good stuff there. And I would say too that, and I don't know where it comes from per se. Maybe it's because we both have martial arts beginnings. I don't know. I was in martial arts too at like 7 years old. But I too did a funny thing right out of college. I asked for a lot of informational interviews, right out of college, 2008 during the recession. And I was a snot-nosed junior with no experience coming out of college, right? And it was recession. No one was hiring freezes. Nothing was happening. No one would hire fresh college kids because they could hire a senior for junior rate, right? Because they had mortgages and kids, and I didn't, and they were willing to do whatever it took to keep a mortgage. I got hung all the time. But what I did, I don't know who advised me to do this. I asked for informational interviews of like random people from like the Addy Awards. Like I would look up out of college, I looked at the Seattle Addy Awards, and I was like, "Ooh, wow, Heart Director is like succeeding and doing awesome." And I would call them up and be like, "Hey, I just saw that you won the silver or the gold Addy Award in Seattle. I would love to learn a little bit more about how you did that. Can I take you out for a cup of coffee?" And it was just so casual, but it shows, right? It shows that you have initiative, you did your research. You learned a little bit about them. You looked them up on LinkedIn. Well, maybe back then it wasn't LinkedIn, but you read the paper, you looked up the award, and you had enough, I used to call places. Like this is back when you didn't have like the great internet. So I used to call places. I used to call the front desk, like Publicis, or I'd call, Draft FCB, or I'd call, these various GLG. I'd call these various outfits in downtown and be like, "Hey, is so-and-so creative director available?" And they're like, "No, not available right now, but can I take a message?" And I'd be like, "Oh yeah, tell them that Amber Jacobs from Western Washington University called, and I would love to chat with them about the Addy Award they just won." Like just so random. It just sounded like, just played it off. But anyways, that technique has played out in spades and then some throughout my whole life. Whether it be, obviously getting a start in the graphic design industry as a young person, or whether, it was you when I wanted to know a little bit more about modeling. I remember sitting down with you at coffee and wanting to know a little bit, like, how did you get into that? Who did you talk to? I want to know more about this. Or whether it was when I wanted to get into podcasting, or whether it was when I wanted to go into business. I asked various persons along the way for an informational interview type, like, "Hey, I see that you're doing an awesome thing. I'd like to learn a little bit more about how to do that. Would you mind? Can I get you a cup of coffee and can we talk about that?" So it plays out in spades every time.
Two things. One, you realized at a young age that when you ask for help, the worst thing that they can do is tell you no.
Okay.
That's right. So the worst thing that can happen when you ask someone out is they tell you no. The worst thing that is going to happen when you go for a job interview is they say no. The worst thing that's going to happen when you try to get a modeling commercial or you get into an agency and you want them to bring you on, they tell you no. That's the worst thing. The best thing is you land it, right? So right away, it's 50-50. If you do your homework, which is the second thing you mentioned, you've now increased your chances, right? If you show a little interest and intent and purpose behind anything that you do, it hits the road running, because now it shows that you're interested and you care a little bit. Now it opens up the person who you're asking for that yes, right?
Well, it's kind of flattery. It's kind of a slight flattery. Like I looked up, every creative director, and now I'm one, likes to have a little bit of an ego stroke. A little bit of flattery goes a little bit of a way. It's like, wow, they actually took the extra mile. She's a snot-nosed junior coming out of college, 22 years old. And she had the audacity, the drive, the knowledge. Like she looked me up at the Seattle Addy Awards and looked up the award that I won, and cared enough to physically pick up a phone call and try to get a hold of me at my office at such and such agency in downtown. That takes a lot of initiative to follow that from point A to point B and then follow through with an actual cup of coffee. Like I ran all over like Victory Studios. I mean, I took all the funny people out to coffee to kind of, because I didn't have a job and I just paid a lot of money to go to college to learn how to be a graphic designer, and damn it, I wanted to do it. So by hell or high water, I was gonna go be a graphic designer in downtown Seattle, and I called every shop downtown to get a job.
Well, you hit on something that I want the audience to hear, and that is that as a strength coach to Olympic athletes, I always wondered what was the difference between an Olympic athlete and a really good athlete, because there's a difference, right? And they would always say the same two things. They would say, A, never get injured, because when you get injured, you fall behind and somebody will take your place and eat you up. And the second thing is always give 3 to 5% more in everything that you do, in your training, in your meals, in your workouts. Always give 3 to 5% more. And it's not the atomic habit style of James Clear about giving these little small habits. It's like, what are you doing every single day to stand out? And one of the things I talk about from the stage is going above and beyond, going that extra mile, or giving that 3 to 5% more. And most people are only going to do the mid-level. And so if you go just a little bit above and beyond that 3 to 5% more, it is going to make you stand out. It is going to make you shine, and it's going to make you memorable, valuable, and referable. And when you're all three of those things on any of the businesses that you do as an entrepreneur or in the industry, you're going to take off and you're going to own this world, because everything that I do is based off of referrals, and people love to work with me as trust. It's like most of my work comes from referrals. Oh, Blue Stiley is a great motivational speaker. You're going to love him. He did this for my audience. They were all this call to action. He was easy to work with. Well, that's a referral, but it has to be memorable. Put yourself out in front of somebody and ask them for that yes. You're standing out more than the normal person would do, right? And it's interesting, but this is a perfect example of what's ordinary and what is above and beyond. When was the last time, Amber, that you were like walking in the store or you're walking down the street and somebody smiles at you? And I don't mean like in the horror movie smile, like that, but like a genuine smile. It makes you feel awkward. You're like, what is this guy smiling at? What's this lady smiling at, right? Well, it makes you feel awkward because nobody does that.
Nobody does it anymore. It's strange.
It's strange. Do that. It breaks down walls. It breaks down barriers. Just the easy smile. And when you do that, it makes people feel uncomfortable because you're going above and beyond. And so
it just seems so simple to you and I, though.
Well, because it is simple. It's just like getting in shape. Every one of your listeners knows how to get in shape. You work out more, you move more, and you don't eat crappy food. Okay. It is very simple, but it's just as simple not to do it, right? We procrastinate, we make up excuses, and we kick the can down the curb, right? We do it. So it's my job to remind people that it is that simple to go above and beyond by 3 to 5% more. And what I would say is that you can do that in two ways. You can show it through appreciation through gratefulness. Okay. Or you can do it by standing out and leveraging your gifts. So you weren't afraid to make those phone calls to all those people. You weren't afraid to ask them out for coffee. You weren't afraid to put yourself out there and to try to bring a resume made out of black paper versus white that felt different, right? Like you did something a little bit different to stand out because you needed to. You need to do something to stand out above your competition or about the other people trying to do it. And then the next thing is that you have to stand out by showing your gratefulness and your appreciation. And I would say to everyone listening, when you take somebody out for coffee that you want to pick their brain, you want information as a mentor or maybe a possible job interview or an internship, buy their coffee. You're wasting their time. They are spending their time on you. Buy them their coffee. And then I'm going to throw you under the bus. Send them a handwritten thank you card. Because when you do that, you're memorable, and you're great at that. And I've gotten your card for talking to you about modeling or acting or even fitness and being a personal trainer. It's like it shows that you're grateful. It makes you stand out. It makes you memorable. And you know what? If I don't have a job for you, I might know someone who does, and I will refer you. And so that's that mantra: memorable, valuable, and referable. And when you hit those three, you're going to succeed.
Thank you for that. Yeah. You know who actually taught me to do that was my folks.
Mm.
So I remember trying to get like my first big girl job. Big girl job. This is like in Port Arthur, Washington, Gig Harbor area.
Mhm.
And I was working my first job, my first W-2 job. This is not my first job. My first W-2 job on the record was when I was like 15. I had to go flip burgers and I hated it. I was like, oh, I'm at McDonald's. Sucks. But I wanted gas money. So I was like, okay, I will go flip burgers and work at McDonald's so I can have gas money to go run around and do what I actually want to go do. But there was this job down the road. It was Anthony's home port in Gig Harbor. And it was like one of the best paying jobs in the joint because you could get tip money, right?
Mhm.
And you could get tips. You could eventually be started as a hostess, and then you could bus, and you could bar back, and then you could be a server. And the tip money was what I wanted, was the monies associated with that. And every Tuesday they held kind of like auditions, open interviews. Every Tuesday you could show up, and it was first come first serve, and the hiring manager would seat everybody in the lobby, every single person. And I would show up like almost every other Tuesday for like 6 months. And they wouldn't hire me. The guy's like, I love you, but I can't hire you. You're not 16. And so I went back like almost every month for like 6 months until I turned 16. And the guy finally hired me. He's like, okay, fine. You could be a hostess. And but after every interview, I always sent a thank you card because my folks were super big on that. You get something from grandma and grandpa, you send them a thank you card. My dad was like a really big on that. You get something from grandma and grandpa, you get something from you send them a thank you card. And so anyways, all that to say is that because my dad and my folks were that big on thank you cards as a young person, even when I was in primary school, I gave this guy a thank you card. He's like, I can't hire you. You're not 16. But anyways, I just replayed that over and over, whether it be looking at Anthony's home port, whether it had been, and you name the interview, I have been doing it since I was a child. And, whether it be at the rec center as a personal trainer, or whether it be, at various things along the way, it has played out in spades. I don't know how many times. It's so simple. You get that. I used to keep a stack of thank you cards in the glove compartment, jockey box of my truck. And after every interview, I would sit there, write it out, write the address down, and I would just, I had a thing of stamps, and I would send it immediately after the interview, same time, same day, drop it into the blue post box nearby after every single interview, because I used to run around Seattle doing it. And there's still a stack of thank you cards in my car today.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so simple.
It is simple, and it does stand out. And I got a thank you card that was handwritten, and it looked like calligraphy from back in the like the 1400s. Like, it was this beautiful handwritten card. I was like, oh my gosh. And it just stands out so much, and it makes it that much more memorable to me as a speaker for coming in and speaking. It just makes me feel special. It makes me feel appreciated.
Every time I get a thank you card, I keep it because I'm like, wow, it's handwritten. Wow, that's amazing. I will definitely speak for them again. I will definitely show up again for them because they went they reciprocated in kind, right? I love getting thank you cards. Love it.
Well, and it doesn't have to be a thank you card. It could be sending an email and like with a little video that says how much you enjoyed it, or a post, or a post with like a thank you on it, or it could be somebody sending you a big bottle from Amber Energy, right? Like, it's like these little things do make a difference, and they do help you stand out. But what I also wanted to point out to everyone is that you also didn't quit. You continued going. Like every other Tuesday, you continued going, even though you were being told no every single time. You realized like it wasn't out of your control, right? Like, they could not hire you because you were 16. It wasn't you personally, right? It was not you. You just kept trying. And I think a lot of people stop when they hear a no versus like, oh, let's keep trying to go. If you really want in a door, you find a way through it. You solve your solution through it. What is your path to get through it? Are you going to go around it? You're going to go above it? You're going to crash through it? You're going to dig under it? Or are you going to try to find a different key? Like, if it's something that you really want and if you really want to achieve, you just have to keep going. You can't quit, because for you to really fail, you either have to quit or you die. That's really the only way to fail. And so you nail or you hit the head on the nail, in the sense that it's that you just didn't quit. You just kept going, and you kept following up, and eventually, and I think we all have stories like that. Like, if you stay resilient, right, and you just keep going back, eventually you're going to get to a yes. And I would say that with salespeople all the time. Like, when I speak to sales groups, And they're like, well, I think I'm doing everything right. I think I'm doing everything wrong. I'm like, well, how many phone calls did you make? And they're like, well, I made 20. I'm like, it should be 100 every day, because it's a numbers game.
Totally,
You are going to get told no
percentage.
way more times than yes. And it's like, it only takes one yes sometimes, especially in a sales, especially if it's a huge commission. You're selling a $10 million home. It only takes one yes, right? And so it never giving up, always following through, and always continuing, keeping on the top of mind of the people that you're dealing with. Always remind them, bring value to the people that you're talking to. I'm not just going to randomly reach out and like, hey, you want to bring me back to the speaker again? Hey, you want to bring me back? That's going to get annoying. I have to bring value every single time that I bring it, or mention something, or that beautiful handwritten thank you card. It's like, what are you doing every single day to go 3 to 5% more, to be grateful and to show your appreciation? And what are you doing every single day to go 3 to 5% more to stand out and to leverage your gifts?
Perfect. I also want to say it could just be the little things, just like little things of like text messages. Hey, I'm thinking of you. You know, with my friends, it's like, hey, I saw this funny thing and I'm thinking of you, and you take a picture of it and you send it, right? It's little things with your friends or with colleagues or clients, doesn't matter who, just little things that, hey, I'm thinking of you, by the way. It doesn't have to be anything in particular, but just, it goes a long way. Just,
it does
I'm
go a
thinking of
long
you.
way, and it only goes that way if, for example, I want to work with someone or something like that. I have to know something about them. I have to understand something that makes them tick. And so, like, Dale Carnegie wrote the How to Influence Friends, and it's basically like, how do you connect with someone within the first 30 seconds? You have to learn something about them. Do they love baseball? Do they love fishing? Do they have a family? And it's like getting to know that person on that little bit deeper level. That is what you use to continuously follow up. And it's like, hey, I just saw the Mariners play. Hey, I just saw that trout are running wild in this stream. Or, hey, did you get your business license? Like, staying top of mind with things that are relatable to that person. And you're only going to do that if you pay attention. If you put intent and purpose into actually listening and caring about what somebody likes or doesn't like, you're not going to have that upper hand on somebody else. And when you do that to somebody, whether it's on a phone or you're in an interview, it's like, listen to them, actively listen. And when you do, the nuggets start to come in, and that's what you use to always stay in mind. One of the things I do all the time is I grab my phone and I go to contacts and I just spin down, and whoever it lands on, I randomly call them and tell them how special they are, or if I love them.
That's beautiful.
Right?
I'm going to do that today. I'm going to have the phone today. I'll see what it is.
It better not be me.
Their price is right.
That's right. It blows. Every one of us wants to know that we make a difference in this world.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And what better way than to tell them? And so, because they all want to know that something they did or said or have done for you made a difference in your life. And so let them know. What greater reward could you give someone? Yeah, they might not have any idea. Yeah, they might not have any idea that something they did or said has impacted them or you, right? And so let them know. And I always say that to my groups, like, let people know who've impacted you, that they made a change or they've influenced you in some way, because it might blow their mind.
I didn't know. It's a beautiful thing. Like going back to that, remembering and genuinely wanting to remember something about a person, right? And genuinely wanting to remember a thing about a person, right? I got too many things in my brain. So like what I do, I thought you were going to like this. I thought you were going to roll down to the bottom and say something. But I do this, where like if I learn a little nugget about somebody, I like to go down to the contact information. I go to the bottom of them and I write it down. Notes. Yeah. I go to notes in every single contact that I have of a person, because I want to remember their dog's name. I want to remember their kid's name. I want to remember their birthday. I want to remember. I want to care. I really do want to care. And I can't always remember it off my brain. But what do? Put it on my phone. I write it down. You know, they're into Star Wars, they're into fishing, they're into something, right? They're into sci-fi, they're into anything, whatever it is, I don't care. I write it down and I genuinely care, and I will follow up and I'll think about it.
Because it is interesting to them.
It's interesting
and it
to
makes
them.
You stand
I care about their interests. And so you could go through my phone and you'll see in my phone, in the notes section, it's got husband's name is this, wife's name is this, kid's name is this, what year the kids were born, Because when I talk to them next, I'm like, oh, did Susie just turn 5? I mean, I put the year that the kid was born. I put down all the funny notes because I want to care and I want to remember because I genuinely love caring about people.
Well, and that makes you stand out. And that is one of your gifts, right? And it's like, if you naturally do it, or if it's a skill that you've learned to acquire from your folks or whatever, it makes you stand out from everybody else. And it makes you memorable, valuable, and referable.
I wonder what I put on my phone about you.
Probably, I'm under Rhonda.
Oh, no, stop it. No, I wonder what I have in my phone with you. I don't even know. Blue. Oh, what's fun? Oh, this is a fun thing. Oh, fun. So your profile picture on my phone, you won't think this is funny info. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
One of your very first business cards.
Yep.
That is one of your very first business cards. And I remember meeting you and you gave me your business card. I just took a picture of it and made it your profile.
That was before QR codes.
And it's your original business card. Yeah, strength coach and is it Shokan Karate? Shokan? Karate.
Shotokan.
Yeah. And it has so that's your first, so that's your actually, okay, so then I got notes on you, right? So I got all your bits in there, all of your funny bits about you, because I just want to remember and I care because I do this for everybody.
Well, and honestly, if I'm going to, okay, so this is a big plug for business owners, and that would be that to have a CRM, to be able to keep track of all the things about somebody, the people that you're reaching out to. We think that we can remember everything, but we can't. And so it's so easy. And I would suggest some kind of tool, whether that's an Excel spreadsheet or notes on your phone, contacts.
Anything.
Write down the things, whether that's their phone number, their birth date. And it really does make you shine because you think that you can remember all that, but it's so difficult, so difficult. And so it just taking those little notes really does help.
Yeah, I write notes in my CRM system when it comes to my business, and when it comes to my friends, I do it in the notes section of my contacts, right? So I make a lot of notes. I'm constantly feverishly making notes about people, but it's only because I wanted to remember. But I can't remember everything in this brain. There's too much stuff to remember.
Yeah.
So your brain, good tip too, also not good for storage. Your brain is good for coming up with ideas, but not very good for storage.
Hence the CRM.
Oh my gosh, good talk. I love that. Knowing and remembering, being memorable, being referable, being likable, right? Likable is another fun thing in there. Be easy to work with, right? Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Always be fun to work with. Try to be fun to work with because that people remember you on a job site and how easy and fun you might have been fun to work with. And if you were hard to work with and a challenge, they'll remember that in 5 years and you might not get that next gig. So I just remember always being that way with every design contract, with every modeling gig that I possibly could have ever gotten through fitness. I always just try to treat everybody with kindness and respect, and just be easy to work with on set, easy to work with backstage. I treated expediters nice. I treated the janitor nice. You just treat everybody nice.
I'm going to pause you, and that is I've acted and modeled for 25 years. And I would say that one of the reasons that I've been successful at elongating that career is because of the way that I treat everybody on set. So if you're the head of craft services, if you're the director, if you're another model, if you're the stylist, if you're the producer, get to know them, be kind to everybody, because you never know who you're talking to. And you never know if they have influence or if they could be the one that says, hire him again or don't hire him again. Be kind. It's so much easier to be kind to everybody and to be memorable to those people.
You have no idea sometimes who you're talking to, because sometimes the most clout person on set, or the person that has the most clout in a room or situation, might be the most unexpected person in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how many times I've come into a situation like, it's not that person's call. It's his call. It's their call. And they might be the most unexpected person in the room. And
I have a client, and I won't name the car company, but we went into a very high-end car company, my friend and myself, and we walk in, he's completely tatted. And we didn't get helped by anyone.
Oh,
And it was amazing because a lot of people see tattoos and it's almost like contagious. It's like, they're dirty and I don't want to deal with it. And they had no idea that this man was a multi-millionaire
yeah.
who could have bought every car in that lot and no one paid any attention to him. And so it's important to remember to be kind to everybody because you never know who or when you might meet somebody who has the ability to change your life or you can change theirs.
Yeah, it's true. So true. I have a couple other stories about that, but yeah, it's so true. Never underestimate a person. Never, stereotype
Judge a book
a
by its
person.
covers.
Yeah, never do it. It doesn't matter what your industry or background what your appearance might be. You have no idea. Maybe you are an Alaskan fisherman. Maybe you're an Alaskan captain, but maybe you look like you just came off the boat. I worked at Anthony's. You have no idea who they are and what kind of money they might have. They might be the most unexpected and most wealthiest person in the joint, but they're in their coveralls and galoshes because they just come off the boat.
Or it doesn't have to be financial. It could be
Doesn't
influential, right?
Precisely,
It could be
precisely.
somebody who knows everyone. And if you're mean to that person, they're not going to introduce you to other people.
You might as well just be blacklisted yourself. You're an idiot. You might as well just blacklist yourself completely.
It's so much easier to be kind to everyone and make everyone feel heard, seen, and valued and like they belong.
Perfect. Well said. Hear, hear. I love it. Well, Blue, my lovely friend, is there anything else you would like to share with our audience here at Amber Energy? Is there anything coming up big or anything fun that you want to launch or share or tell the audience or anybody about?
Well, let's see here. I started another one of my speeches. It's called Dark Side for Life, which is why the bad guys are way cooler than the good guys, but they're just as impactful. And it started out to be a kind of a fun little speech, but it's kind of taken off. And it has also become like a C-level executive because we can learn from bad examples just as much as we can as good examples. I am a huge Star Wars fan, so it ties right in, but it's all about the villains of the 80s. And I think that I'm going to make a graphic novel out of it. So that's going to be in the future. I'm planning on speaking at Star Wars Celebration in 2027, and I will give Dark Side for Life speech there. Let's see, Navigating No will be out next year, which will be my second book. And my Audible should be available by Thanksgiving this year. So for the sum of 4. But check out my podcast. It's called Navigating No. And like Amber, I'm the person that reads the comments and I would love to connect with everybody. And so I would love to hear your story.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Blue, for your time today and for coming on and sharing a little bit about you and how we navigate no, telling us a little bit how we influence people's lives, how we build trust, how we create meaningful, amazing relationships. And I just could not be more grateful for your time and so happy to have you on as a guest here today. And thank you so very much.
You're welcome, Amber. Thank you for having me. And I just look forward to seeing you in person again. You're always welcome at our cabin.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody, for listening to another episode of Amber Energy, the podcast. Make sure you like, subscribe, share all the funny things. Thank you so much and make it a great day. Cheers.